What is up, people, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast, where every day is a throwdown and every episode is a body slam. Join us as we delve into the world of professional wrestling, breaking down the latest news, matches, and rumors from the squared circle. From WWE to AEW, we'll cover everything you need to know to impress your friends. So sit back, relax, and get ready to rumble as we bring you all the action from the world of pro wrestling. All right, a little bit of housekeeping to start the show. If you are enjoying the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast and want to support the show, we've got a great way for you to do just that. For just $5 a month, you can become a patron of the channel and help keep the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast growing and going strong. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/The Casual Wrestling Show. As a patron, you'll get access to exclusive bonus content, including behind-the-scenes looks at making of the show, Q&A sessions, and much more. You'll also get the satisfaction of knowing that you're helping to keep the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast and channel stay on the air, so I can keep bringing you all of the latest from the world of professional wrestling. All right, so let's start the show. And since there's no ringside recap this week, because essentially Monday Night Raw was your ringside recap for the entire year, I want to start the show off today with a little segment I'm going to call The Booking Prophecies. All right, so in the booking prophecies, I'm going to do my best to make some predictions. And since we are at the end of 2022, I think that it would be fun for me to throw out 10 possible predictions for things that are going to happen in the year of 2023 in pro wrestling. And I believe that all of my predictions are WWE related. So if anybody who listens to this show, keep these in mind. I want you guys to hold me accountable, because when these things do or do not happen, I want you guys to come back and call me out. But I want to make sure when these things do happen, I want to make sure that I get my credit and I get my due for the correct predictions that I make. So let's take time right now and let's predict 10 things that will happen in WWE in 2023, starting with in the year 2023, WWE, more importantly, Triple H, is not going to know what to do with Bray Wyatt. He's going to fumble the ball on Bray Wyatt. And I think that ultimately, by SummerSlam, this Bray Wyatt thing will have burnt out. They will not see this thing all the way through. Bray Wyatt will be in some kind of meaningless matchup at SummerSlam before ultimately WWE scrapping the whole Wyatt 6 thing completely and just going back to Bray Wyatt comfort food and making him the Fiend or just some old version of Bray Wyatt, or just completely repackaging him all over again. I don't think there's any way we make it all the way through 2023 with Bray Wyatt having a consistent booking and being allowed to book himself. Somebody in WWE is going to want that credit. Somebody's going to want to step in and take those flowers away from Bray Wyatt, be it Triple H, be it somebody else in creative, but somebody's going to step up and try to take away the spotlight off of Bray Wyatt, and ultimately they're going to fuck that up. I have no doubt in my mind that somebody in WWE is going to mess this up. They're going to mess this Bray Wyatt thing up. We're going to slow drip it out all the way through Royal Rumble. Then where does he go from there? You guys help me out. How do we book? Someone fantasy book for me Bray Wyatt through the year 2023. Does he just go on a mid-card rampage and he just goes undefeated against all mid-card opponents like LA Knight, maybe run him through Hit Row, maybe give him Ricochet, ultimately ending up fighting Drew McIntyre at the end of the year? What does 2023 look like for Bray Wyatt? And when I play it out in my head, it looks like WWE not being able to see this thing all the way through and have the patience, and more importantly, the casual fans not having the patience for a story that takes this long. So I think, by 2023 SummerSlam, Bray Wyatt is in some kind of meaningless story that we don't really care about, and they're repackaging his gimmick again. Number 2, I'm going to go Braun Breaker will win at least 3 major titles on the main roster in 2023. Now, I don't know that any of those will be a world title. I'm going to guess one of them is. I think that by December of next year, Braun Breaker is holding at least the WWE title. I do believe that is a high possibility, but I do think for sure that in 2023, Braun Breaker wins at least a tag team title on the main roster. He wins either, if not or both, the Intercontinental and United States Championship. But he holds 3 titles. Braun Breaker will have a good year. Braun Breaker will move up probably post-WrestleMania, which gives him a good 6 or 7 months to make an impact. And I think if they book him correctly, he comes in and wins a mid-card title immediately. And then at some point in the year wins a tag team championship with somebody, because they're going to use somebody to elevate his TV time. And then ultimately by December of next year, I could see him winning, even if for a short period of time, a major WWE championship, when those titles will ultimately get split back up. Number 3, I'm going to go with, this is a little sooner, we'll be able to call me on this one, but I think Rhea Ripley is going to enter both Royal Rumbles, the men's and the women's. And I ultimately think that she wins the women's Royal Rumble. I think that the best possible main event for WWE as far as WrestleMania goes in the women's division would be Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley for the women's title. I do believe that is the best. I don't think that Charlotte versus Bianca Belair, there's not enough time to sell me on that story. So I like Rhea Ripley winning so prediction 1, this is a 2-parter. Prediction 1 is Rhea Ripley winning the women's Royal Rumble, and prediction 2 is that Rhea Ripley will enter both Royal Rumbles, men's and women's. All right, prediction number 4 for 2023 is that Miro and Andrade will be back in the WWE ring at some point. That's pretty open-ended, and I know I'm giving myself a lot of space, but to get this correct, I think that both of them have to return. I think that with what Lana's kind of come out and said, that Miro is the bigger bet, but I think that as time goes on, Tony Khan's going to understand that he can't really repair that relationship with Andrade, and I think that Andrade's going to want to be with Charlotte, and so ultimately I think we see both of these people back in WWE. I don't think it's before Royal Rumble. I think it's later in the year. I think that we're going to see in 2023 Tony Khan hopefully start to iron out this idea that he has to hold on to everything and let some of these guys go be WWE's problem. I think that Tony Khan, the problem for Tony Khan, and I don't want to get too far off on this, is he has all the correct chess pieces. He's now just got to lay out his board in the correct strategy. He doesn't need to hold on to all these extra pawns that are on his roster that are unhappy and that cause problems in his locker room. So I think Miro and Andrade will be back in WWE at some point in 2023, and I think that's what's best for everybody. My number 5 prediction here is that Stone Cold Steve Austin will wrestle again at WrestleMania, and it will be a disappointment. It will be a letdown. It will, if he wrestles anybody not named Kevin Owens, and I don't want them to use Kevin Owens for this again, it will be a letdown, and it will not work, and it ultimately will fall flat in the eyes of most wrestling fans. There will be hardcore wrestling fans who, just because Stone Cold is wrestling again. Now, I'm not saying that the fanfare surrounding it won't be the same, because every time his music hits, people goes nuts. The build-up, if he actually shows up for a couple promos this time, that could be impressive and work. But ultimately, whatever match that Stone Cold ends up in, whoever that's against, especially if it's somebody like John Cena, which is a match that I think people are asking for, that they don't really want to see. But I do think, so I think prediction 5 is that Stone Cold Steve Austin returns to WWE for a match at WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood, and ultimately that match will be remembered poorly versus what he did at WrestleMania 38, which I thought was the most poetic finish for Stone Cold that we could have. I would just hope, I ultimately, my hope is if Stone Cold comes back for something at 39, it's not a match. It's just it's a segment. It's a refereeing spot. It's just a come out and stun a bunch of people spot. But I'm ultimately hoping, I hope Stone Cold doesn't show up at the Royal Rumble, and I hope that he doesn't have a match at WrestleMania. That's my ultimate hopes. Prediction number 6 is that Sasha Banks will wrestle a few matches in indie promotions. She will build up a huge buzz with the IWC before ultimately returning back to WWE. I think that's the only path for Sasha Banks. I don't foresee, and this is one that could bite me in the ass because I've been all over the place on Sasha Banks. This is just me going gut feeling here. I ultimately think Sasha Banks ends up back in WWE, but I do think that they're going to allow her to get this out of her system. This New Japan bug. I don't think that this is a one-off. I think she'll get a couple appearances on indie circuits. She'll pop up and a couple, maybe in even some local type things. She'll get to kind of rebuild herself, rebuild up that allure. And then ultimately, I think from just, if I'm looking at this from WWE's position, I think this is win-win because she can bring in an outside audience before ultimately returning to WWE. And so I think in 2023, Sasha Banks, for probably through WrestleMania, it would be great to have her return at WrestleMania after doing a bunch of New Japan Pro stuff. It would be great to have her, even though I'm not a fan of the whole Forbidden Door and Tony Khan's idea of bringing in New Japan Pro wrestlers. But I think because it's not done in WWE, that if they did something like that at WrestleMania, allowed Sasha Banks to bring whatever feud she is working on in Japan, bring that over to WWE and have that match on a WrestleMania stage, I think it could fucking blow the roof off of a building for that group of IWC fans who really give a shit. I do. I think so. Not for me, but for that group of fans who do give a shit and don't do it on a week. Once she's back, get her back into the rotation of WWE wrestlers. But a one-off situation of opening the Forbidden Door at WrestleMania, it would, I'm not going to lie, it would generate a lot of buzz. Prediction number 7, Logan Paul will hold a WWE title in 2023. Don't know if it's a world title. I'm going to guess it's a tag team title. I'm going to guess that there's a possibility him and his brother. That's not the official prediction. The official prediction is that Logan Paul will hold a title. The bonus prediction is that it's a tag team title with his brother. I don't think he wins a world title. I don't think he's around enough to hold a world title. I think that they're treating the IC in the U.S. with a little too much prestige right now to go the part-timer celebrity route with those belts. But I think he wins a tag team title. I think Logan Paul wins some title. They want to put some title on Logan Paul's shoulders so that he can carry it around and take it outside of the world of wrestling. He can carry it on Impulsive. Anything he does with when his brother has boxing matches, he can be carrying that title. So I do think at some point in time in 2023, Logan Paul wins a version of a WWE championship. Tag, Intercontinental, US, world title. I'm leaving that open-ended. I think that's fair. My number 8 prediction. This may be more of a hope than a prediction, but I think that this is a possibility. I think with more and more that comes out, I believe this is a possibility. I think CM Punk will wrestle one match in WWE. Be it a retirement match, be it a one-off special event at SummerSlam or something like that. I think that if he gets released from his contract from AEW, I think the WWE, I think both sides can come to terms, especially, I just think it happens. I really do think it happens. I think that CM Punk wrestles one more match in WWE. That's a prediction. I'm putting that on the books. That's a long-term one because I have all the way until December of 2023 to call for you guys to call bullshit on me. But I think ultimately I gotta believe, Unless Tony Khan bites the fucking bullet and brings him back to AEW, which is ultimately the right decision, I think CM Punk, he will wrestle at least one more match in WWE. And okay, number 9 prediction here is that I think Sami Zayn will hold the world title at some point in 2023. I think it's inevitable. I think it's Kofi Mania 2.0. I think that at some point in time, sooner rather than later, that Sami Zayn will get at least a short transitional period with that title. It could be, guys, it could be one day. He could win it at the beginning of an episode or a premium live event and have lost it by the end of the episode. But I do think that for that emotional reaction, WWE is going to they like the optics of at least having a couple of months, a couple of episodes, a couple of weeks with Sami Zayn holding that belt, especially if you went on some kind of Canadian tour and had Sami win that belt right before, it would be insane. That is the kind of booking that Triple H needs to lean into, is that hometown booking for someone like Sami Zayn. So I think number 9, Sami Zayn will hold a world title, not another mid-card title. I already know. I think we've got it in the books that we think Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to ultimately be the tag team champions at some point in time. But I think even while being tag team champion, there is a story built in there for Sami Zayn to be world champion, even if we're just a short amount of time. And my number 10 prediction for the year 2023, and this is a long shot, but this is something I feel in my gut. Raquel Rodriguez will have the most successful year in the women's division as a women's wrestler. That means she will have a better year than Becky Lynch. She will have a better year than Charlotte. She will have a better year than Ronda Rousey. And I do believe ultimately, by the time we get to the end of 2023, that we will say Raquel Rodriguez had a better year than Rhea Ripley. And that's going to be hard because I think if WWE books Rhea correctly, she wins the Royal Rumble and she wins the title from Bianca at WrestleMania, and that would probably damper all this. But I feel like because of the Judgment Day connection and because of Dominic Mysterio kind of being a saddlebag that she carries that creates, when I say saddlebag, I don't think there's anything wrong with what's going on, but it definitely makes Rhea lean towards being more of a comedic character than being a major player in the women's division. And so ultimately, I think when we get to the end of the year, I would love for on SmackDown this next week, Raquel Rodriguez to win the women's championship from Ronda Rousey and begin a lengthy title reign up to WrestleMania. I'm still of the belief that Ronda and Shayna should be in the women's tag team division all the way through WrestleMania. They should win the belts, and they should have a long, illustrious run where they just destroy every women's tag team, and they make those belts mean something. But I think that Raquel Rodriguez, the marketability, the commercialism, everything about Raquel Rodriguez screams fucking superstar. Just screams you can market behind her. If they can figure out a way to make her interesting to the casual fans and keep building up her character, I do think that by the time we get to December in 2023 and we look at wins and losses and we look at overall just who had the better year, I think Raquel Rodriguez comes out on top of that list. All right, guys, it's time for the question of the day. So each and every day here on the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast, we pose a question to our audience related to the world of wrestling, and we encourage you guys to leave your answers in the comments. Yesterday's question did phenomenal. It blew up on YouTube. It blew up on TikTok. So I think let's keep this thing going. Let's keep the momentum going. Answer this in the comments. Stitch it on TikTok. Duet it on TikTok. Comment on TikTok. Comment on YouTube Shorts. Make a video on YouTube and tag me in it. I'll talk about it. But today's question, the question for today is, I've been told a million times why I'm wrong on who is the greatest wrestler of all time. So I'm asking, I need your guys' answers. I need everybody who listens answers. Whether you like me or you hate me, give me an answer. Who ultimately is the greatest wrestler of all time. Don't tell me who isn't. Tell me who is the greatest wrestler of all time. Narrow it down. I want one name. Stop giving me a list of names. Pick the one. Who is the GOAT? That's it. All right, so it's a short show today. Let's jump straight into the Rumble report. The Casual Wrestling Rumble Report is your one-stop shop for all the latest news, rumors, and gossip. We are not responsible for any incorrect information that the dirt sheets report. I am just here to simply give you my good old opinion. I leave the dirt sheet digging to the Dave Meltzers of the world. Having said that, today's report has 5 items I want to talk about, starting with Bray Wyatt finally wrestled a match at Madison Square Garden at a live WWE event. So it's good to have Bray Wyatt back. I think this is ultimately going to be a good thing. It's the beginning of knowing that he's actually back to wrestle, and he's not just back for 20 weeks of theatrics. There are some things that scare me about this, but that will kind of go into the, I think, third or fourth topic of the day, but every clip I saw, let's start off. Let's be honest. I looked up a bunch of clips of Bray Wyatt wrestling at Madison Square Garden. And I will tell you, the good is Bray Wyatt is a showman. When he gets in that ring, the crowd reacts. He knows how to get the pop from the crowd. The bad thing is I saw a lot of walking around. I didn't see a guy moving around super athletically. I didn't see a guy running ropes or doing things that kind of always made Bray Wyatt a little bit impressive. I saw a guy relying on power moves and nostalgia. Now, I didn't see the whole match, so I don't know. I'm strictly going off of the Twitter and Instagram and TikTok clips that I saw that people posted from the show, and what I saw when I saw it was Bray Wyatt walking around. Just walking around, power move, walking around, power move. And I guess that can work, but I don't know that's always what made Bray Wyatt special. What I did take notice of is Bray Wyatt looks like a large man. He looks big. Not that that's a bad thing. Maybe that's where he's going with this character. But I did notice that he does not appear to be, after taking this long break, he is not a physical specimen. He is not a super athlete. He's definitely a larger man, which can work. If they're going to book him this way and they book him as a big monster, it can work. But I did notice that, just from my observations, it looks like Bray Wyatt may be, our expectations need to be tempered just a little bit, that Bray Wyatt is going to be very methodical. We're going to get a very methodical Bray Wyatt who walks around and hits a couple moves and then responds to the crowd and then hits a couple more moves and then reacts to the crowd. That's possible that's the Bray Wyatt we're getting. And I'm not necessarily mad about that. But while that show was going on at Madison Square Garden, there was another show in Ohio, another live show, let's talk about this for a minute, because this is kind of story number 2. We'll just bleed right into it. Apparently there was a lot of logistics problems of the show in Ohio. People missed the show. They couldn't get together enough wrestlers. Johnny Gargano had to wrestle the third match and the main event because Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch's bus broke down. I don't know if that was due to all the bad weather. Why? I'm confused. Help me out. I'm going to raise my hand. Triple H, call on me. Okay, yes, Notorious D. Why the fuck didn't we get Monday Night Raw? If you made everybody work on Monday, why didn't we get Monday Night Raw? Why did we get a weird fucking recap show and you had these 2 weird shows where you drug the rosters apart and created all these logistics problems? Why not just do some kind of special from Madison Square Garden? It doesn't have to be a real Monday Night Raw. It could have been a 2-hour shortened thing and just film the live show. All of this doesn't make sense to me. And maybe I'm just complaining because I'm a podcast guy and I need shit to talk about. And when you don't have Monday Night Raw, it makes it real hard to have a Tuesday show. But why didn't we get, if wrestling is happening, if your wrestlers are wrestling on a Monday night, why am I not watching it? Some form and fashion. Even if you're doing a recap show, how about cutting over to just something that's happening in the ring, just showing us. It's like, I don't get it. I don't understand what happened with having 2 live shows on a Monday, and yet I'm watching a recap show. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't fully understand that. Now, on this recap show, Cody Rhodes appeared, and he talked about basically, what's to come for Cody Rhodes in 2023, and his mission statement was, "I'm still here to do what I came to do when I came." That was a funny way of saying that, but he's on a mission to win the world title. And ultimately, I don't know what you're not going to put a mid-card title on him. You're not going to put tag team titles on him. There's no way he goes 2023 without winning a major championship. So the goal is what the goal was, and it's going to be an emotional moment, and I'm still hoping that that Triple H, please don't book. Do not book Roman to lose night 1 and then to win night 2. That has to be flipped around. If you want to make this feel special for Cody Rhodes, have Roman Reigns defeat The Rock on night 1 of WrestleMania, if that's what we're doing, and then ultimately have Cody Rhodes defeat Roman Reigns on night 2 and have the show close out with the end of the bloodline. Do not flip that around. Do not have Roman Reigns lose on night 1 and go into night 2 against The Rock coming off of a loss. That is a waste of 3 years of booking. I did see in a separate article, Tony Khan discussed Cody Rhodes leaving WWE and how that disrupted the company in more ways than just physical wrestling. I think that's a testament to who Cody was. Cody did a lot more in AEW than people gave him credit for. And I don't know I don't really understand. And I know I haven't followed Cody as close as some other people, but when I hear Cody talk and I see the way he reacts with his family, and I see the love that he had for his father, I don't understand how people don't like Cody Rhodes. If you may not like him as a wrestler, but I don't understand how you don't like Cody Rhodes as a person, because I think that everything everybody's tried to pin on Cody Rhodes is exactly who Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are. I don't think Cody Cody took himself out of world title pictures because he didn't like the reactions that like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega kind of thrive on. So I don't get it. How do you not like Cody Rhodes? What am I missing? What is the part of Cody Rhodes that I'm missing that I'm supposed to not like? Because I think that, as far as I've heard people tell me, Cody's not a commercially viable product. What are you watching? Like, what are you watching that you don't see that Cody Rhodes, he kind of seems like the all-American, like, man, just, fucking wrestles when his arm's falling off, sits there and talks about, I needed to put on a show, I needed to bring that physicality to WWE. You hear Tony Khan talk about, like, when he left the company, how it disrupted more than just the company and how he was instrumental in creating AEW. I don't get it. Like, I don't get what there is not to like about Cody Rhodes. All right, I'm going to circle kind of back here. This is back to the Bray Wyatt thing, but WWE is hyping a pitch black match for the Royal Rumble. Apparently, there's been commercials going around by Mountain Dew hyping a pitch black match here, which in the Royal Rumble, which I will be attending. Me and Lauren have decided we are going to go. Who knows? We may be sitting up in the sky. We'll figure it out. But this match, this all sounds like a disaster. This is what I'm talking about with my Bray Wyatt prediction in 2023 is like you can't do this every time. So we're going to turn the lights off and have a Bray Wyatt match. I'm assuming the reports have always been that this is Bray Wyatt's match. I don't know who else this could be. It feels like it has to be Bray Wyatt's match. And like, to me, here's what's happening. Is this a cinematic type match? Are we turning the lights out and then the lights are going to turn on for a second and we're going to see something and then they'll turn off? Because I don't want to fucking sit in the dark. That's the first thing. Like, I don't want to sit in the dark for 15 or 20 minutes at the Alamo Dome while there's like noises going on around me. I'm not all about that. Are we going to have like one spotlight on? That could be decent, but I don't know. Like, this sounds to me like this could, who thought of this? Who thought this was a good idea? Who sat down and said, you know what we need? We need a lights out match. We need to turn all the lights off. It's a very Bray Wyatt thing to do, but I'm not as excited, I think, as some people. And it seems like they pulled the trigger because once you play the commercial, you kind of got to go through with it, don't you? And the last story of the day I want to talk about is Dax Hardwood actually spoke to CM Punk and talked openly about CM Punk on his podcast. And he, it led me to, after hearing everything that Dax Hardwood say, he had a lot of positive things to say about CM Punk. He talked about CM Punk never really wanting to be the AEW World Champion, which I find interesting because I believe I was one of the big proponents who pinned that motivation onto CM Punk. I said, look, he said he was going to come back and be the good guy, and now he wants the title. Hearing that he didn't necessarily want the title, that Tony Khan kind of swayed him in by saying this is what's best for the company, it really changes my opinion even more on how wrong I was initially. I think I've been a CM Punk supporter after the media scrum, but initially there was a point in time where I did kind of pile on CM Punk wrongfully, I believe. And so hearing that he didn't want the title, that he thought that it wasn't the time, he just wanted to have fun, hearing those kind of things makes me go, I was so wrong on this situation. Hearing that he took multiple wrestlers out to dinner numerous times after AEW shows, that paints more of a picture to me that there were cliques in the back of AEW, and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega didn't like that CM Punk was a little bit of I don't like father figure, but he was a role model to certain guys. And I think it was splitting the roster down the middle because, the Young Bucks was a me thing. And it sounds like to me that CM Punk was let's make everybody better. Let's figure out how to let me take these guys out to dinner. Let me build morale. He apparently bought gift cards anonymously for the entire women's roster. Starbucks gift cards for the women's roster, and didn't want them to know they came for him because he believed that division was working its ass off. He's there every day. He knows what's going on. All of these things that Dax Harwood is saying completely contradict the narrative that's trying to be built by Chris Jericho, the narrative that's trying to be built by the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and the narrative that's being spun by the IWC. Who do you believe? Do we think Dax Harwood is a liar now? Is that what we're doing here? Because I think ultimately I'm pretty unbiased in this situation because I don't think FTR is this the gods of the tag team division that everybody else thinks, but I also don't think that Dax Harwood is a liar. He seems like a pretty straight up dude. So I don't know why he would go on his podcast and create a bunch of bullshit like this. I just think it changes. To me, it kind of changes the perception. And I think that, the IWC will turn a blind eye to this kind of shit, but I won't. I really think that ultimately, this is why I think that he ends up back in WWE, because I do think that Kenny Omega and the Elite have they have a club and they're not going to let anybody else on the playground. All right, let's finish off today's show with a clean finish. So I'm going to finish off today's show by answering yesterday's question of the day, which was, if you were starting a wrestling promotion today, would you rather have MJF or Roman Reigns? Now, what I love about this is after hearing everybody's arguments for this, I get to play kind of podcaster bullshit role, and I can take the best of what I liked from everybody and turn it right, make it like I have this great opinion, when honestly, you guys had fucking fantastic answers. I love that I got so many answers that changed my mind. That was what made it so much fun, was I thought coming into this, I know it all. I'm Mr. Know-It-All. I know it all. And then you guys start presenting different arguments for both sides, and I go, shit, I don't know anything. I've been swayed back and forth. First, let's just talk about a couple of the answers I got that were pretty typical. Pretty typical this was basically, which side of the street do you stand on? Do you take the seasoned kind of mainstream star in Roman Reigns, the guy who's established, you put him on the poster, it sells tickets, and you don't have to do much more, but the problem that Roman Reigns presents is, how long does he want to do it? does he want to be a part of a new company? And like, you know, is how invested is he in pro wrestling at this point? Is he at the end of his career? The arguments that the main arguments I saw for MJF were he's younger, he's a kind of a mic master is what they called him, and the kind of underappreciated thing was he makes everybody else better. So those were the two arguments that I saw most. I did see a couple people who made compelling arguments that, one, they thought Roman Reigns made it easier to attract other talents to the roster, which I think is interesting. I also saw arguments for, does Roman Reigns work by himself? Can you start a company with just Roman Reigns, or do you need the bloodline? Do you need Paul Heyman? And I saw people try to skirt around the question by saying, well, Paul just comes with Roman. Doesn't work that way. You're taking Roman Reigns, or you have a limited budget and you can spend on one big star. You got to pick one of the two. I also saw the other answers that were, I saw answers for, you said Seth Rollins incorrectly. I understand, guys. The question was not if you could take any pro wrestler. The question was between the two world champions right now. And so ultimately, I've kind of formulated my response on, if I was starting a wrestling promotion today, would I rather have MJF or Roman Reigns? And my answer is MJF. I would rather have MJF. And I understand the other side. And I am a huge Roman Reigns fan. But ultimately, if I'm building a company and I'm starting, and I understand that I have to compete long term, and I have to compete with WWE and AEW and other promotions, just getting Roman Reigns is going to give me 1 to 2 years of great success. And then when Roman ultimately does walk out the door, I'm going to be left with nothing. I don't think I can build around Roman Reigns long term. I do think with MJF, while I get it, he's not going to be as big of a star, but I don't think I'm going to compete day one with WWE and AEW. My goal is to start building a foundation. And I think MJF at 26 years old is a foundation that, as long as I can keep him happy and book him correctly, which I still don't think, I don't think that Tony Khan books MJF correctly. So I think that the MJF we get in AEW is not the full potential MJF. The other thing I will say is, I saw an argument all the time for MJF can't wrestle. You guys, y'all forget who you're talking to. I don't think you need to be able to wrestle to be successful in the wrestling business. I think that being a showman is far more important than you can fake it till you make it in the ring. Now, I don't believe that MJF can't wrestle, but I'm saying you can fake it. And the argument on both of these guys has always been they can't wrestle, which just seems like when you become the top guy, it's cool for the IWC to tell you can't wrestle. But ultimately, if I'm starting a company, I'm building my company starting tomorrow, I have the money to buy one wrestler, it's MJF. It is. It's got to be. And it's based on longevity. At 26 years old, if I can convince him to stay, let's say I build a strong relationship with MJF and we don't believe that he's going to run off, I think that I can build something around that. I can build a baby face. MJF makes people love the other wrestler. Look at Ricky Starks. That's a prime example, right? Because I can go get me a Ricky Starks, and there it is. I can build an epic 10-year-long feud between MJF and whoever. With Roman Reigns, I think, number one, Roman commands all the attention. Roman needs to win. That is something that's not talked about enough. Roman Reigns needs to win to be important. So not only do I have to start my company with Roman Reigns, but he has to win almost every time he's on the program to continue to feel relevant. Whereas MJF, I can book him in a lot of different positions. So that's not to say that I like MJF better than I like Roman Reigns. I love Roman Reigns. I love the bloodline. I think that they are the most important part of professional wrestling. But I think long-term booking, I think long-term commercial viability, MJF is the correct answer to me. But I do openly understand anybody who makes an argument for Roman Reigns, 100%. All right, let me tease tomorrow's show here. So I'm going to, tomorrow, since there's no wrestling, there's no ringside recap as well. Instead of doing predictions tomorrow, I think we're going to try to trim down the AEW roster to a notoriously commercial viable roster. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to break down the entire roster. I'm going to open up the roster tonight and kind of break it down, and we're going to get it down to a core of like 25 to 30 men and maybe 10 or 15 women that I think if Tony Khan actually trimmed his roster down to, he could compete with WWE on a daily basis. That's what we're doing on tomorrow's show. But that is all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's discussions and learned something new. If you have any suggestions or thoughts for future episodes or topics, please do not hesitate to reach out and drop those into the comments section. And do not forget to join us tomorrow, same place and same time, for more wrestling talk. Until then, as the great Mick Foley once said, have a nice day, and I will talk to you guys
Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Dope show that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit him with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like the show, but you should already know the Casual Wrestling Community Show. Let's go. Yeah, Notorious Nerdy D. Woo!